There's another case of hospital workers refusing to speak English, this time at the Cité de la Santé hospital in Laval. A 22-year-old man went into the emergency room early this morning complaining of chest pains, and Cindy, his father says a battle over language ensued.
It did not go well, Paul. Frank Fazzari says his son Zachary has a history of heart palpitations, and this morning on his way to work began to sweat, feel chest pain. His face felt numb, so he called his parents and said he was going to Cité de la Santé hospital. His father said he would follow, and according to the family, this is what occurred when Zachary met with the triage nurse.
Right away, the nurse in triage says, "Parlez-vous français?" And Zach said, "Non, j'aimerais expliquer en anglais," in broken English. He says, "Parce que I want to speak in English. Give me somebody that speaks in English. I'm hurting, I'm hurting." So, il n'y a personne qui parle anglais ici. On est un hôpital francophone. So that agitated him very, very much. He says, "I have my rights. I can be served in English." And she called the security right away.
Now, after the nurse called security, Fazzari says he arrived at the ER to be with his son, and the conversation continued much in the same direction, with several staff members present refusing to speak in English. Fazzari says only when he suggested he'd call the media did someone in charge appear and kindly take the situation in hand in English. Zachary was examined, a test was performed, and health workers said everything seemed fine, but Fazzari says he was still worried and decided to take Zachary to the Montreal Heart Institute, where he says a doctor immediately asked them which language they speak, unlike his earlier experience.
The first thing I stated was that there is no language barriers when it comes to health. That health, the only language is compassion, and I thought that they lacked compassion.
Now, a spokesperson from the Laval Health Authorities, Joanne Paré, sent us a statement apologizing for any inconvenience this incident may have caused the family, saying that Cité de la Santé is required to provide access to some English services. There needs to be a sufficient number of bilingual staff present at all times in certain departments, including the emergency room, intensive care, and the day center. And if a health situation is urgent, they're obligated to find someone on site who can communicate in English. Paré said these rules will now be reiterated to all hospital staff. And an important note, Paul, Zachary's father tells us his son was diagnosed at the Montreal Heart Institute this afternoon with pericarditis. It's an inflammation of the membrane around the heart, and he will be kept at the hospital overnight.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Cindy. Cindy Sherwin up in the newsroom tonight.